Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Jimmy Hoke Show. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about all the latest tech news, and boy, is there some interesting news. So, first things first, what really everyone's heard about, everyone wants to talk about, Elon Musk has purchased Twitter. This is a really an unprecedented acquisition like we've never seen in technology. Um, this is the first time we've seen a major internet social media platform get purchased by a single person. And what makes this different than so many other purchases and social media companies is that Twitter is now private. A lot of other things like Facebook, publicly traded, people can buy stock. Um, you know, and Twitter used to be this way. Alphabet, which of course owns like YouTube, used to be this way. And a publicly traded company has certain what's called fiduciary duties to their shareholders. They have obligations to, um, you know, run the company a certain way, be profitable. They have a board. They have to listen to shareholders. But what Elon Musk is doing is he is actually taking Twitter private, which essentially means Elon Musk will be the king of Twitter. He will be able to do whatever he wants without having any kind of anyone to answer to. It will be a 100% private company, completely controlled by Elon Musk, with nobody else to listen to. Um, Now, a lot of Twitter users have asked, wait, so what's going to happen to Twitter? Will Elon Musk do a good job? Will he ruin the platform? And does he even know anything about running a social media platform? I mean, this isn't rocket science, which is, of course, what he's used to. Elon Musk has never really done any sort of internet company, except, of course, X.com, which eventually became PayPal. But it's a very interesting historical moment for this is the first time, like, really, that one person had complete control over a major social media network, as far as I'm aware. On the bright side, we might get an edit button. Um, so, you know, it's what everyone wanted. Everyone just wanted an edit button. Maybe Elon Musk will add one. Um, but only time will tell what will happen with Twitter. Um, and Elon Musk hasn't really announced a whole lot of changes. He has said he will do a few things to improve the platform. Um, One thing that I find interesting is the rather monumental task that Elon Musk has said he plans to do is to actually get rid of spam bots and, quote, authenticate all real humans. It's unclear what that means, but I mean, come on, how cool would it be to have no spam bots at all? Um, the question is, can that be done? I'm a little skeptical. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Twitter, and there's just no telling. Um, Although I do have a few predictions. One, Elon Musk is very big into crypto. We've already seen Twitter integrate NFTs into the platform. Twitter Blue members can set an NFT as their profile picture, and I suspect Twitter will gain um, more crypto features, which, you know, there's a lot of debate over whether that's a good thing or not. It might be that everyone just leaves. Who knows? But like I said, edit an edit button. That would be cool. Um, but yeah. And that reminds me, NFTs. a lot of people don't really know what an NFT is, and then the people who do kind of know what an NFT is, um, it's a lot, it's very controversial. People have a lot of different opinions on it. So I wanted to talk about, what is an NFT? You know, what's the deal with it? Why do they matter? Do they matter? Are they a scam? And what is it? Well, an NFT is short for a non-fungible token. Um, and that's actually an economics term. So, unlike normal cryptocurrencies, which are fungible, for instance, with Bitcoin, any Bitcoin is the same as any other Bitcoin, just like with physical currencies like the dollar. $1 is the same as any other dollar. They're all the same. They're all worth the same. They're the same thing, and that's called fungibility. It's a very important thing in currency because it would be really confusing if, some $1 bills were worth more than others. Um, and of course, that's not counting things like collector's items. But currencies are fungible, meaning that essentially each specific, coin or token or bill is worth the same as all of the other ones. Except, of course, like denominations. Obviously, a $20 bill is worth more than a $1 bill. NFTs are not fungible and aren't really currency. An NFT is a one of a kind, unique coin that exists on the same blockchain as a normal cryptocurrency. Usually it's used with Ethereum. Now, an NFT essentially can have a small piece of data attached to it, usually a link to a photo. And what that becomes sort of is it's kind of like a baseball card. You have this one of a kind token that can go in your crypto wallet, and it can be a picture, a video, a tweet, pretty much anything. And the idea is that you own this specific token, and it's like a one of a kind digital collectible. Now, a lot of people have said this is a scam. You don't really own anything. The the link can disappear, and that is one thing. Just because you have a link to something, websites go down all the time. Like that's kind of an issue. Um, but you've always got like the Wayback Machine from the Internet Archive. But at any rate, you have these one of a kind collectible digital tokens, and they have been sold for thousands of dollars. And the question a lot of people are asking is, isn't this a scam? Well, yes and no. Now, there is definitely a lot of shady stuff going on with NFTs. I saw an ad on Twitter actually just recently, and it was DC is selling Batman NFTs. Yet for $300, you could have a very unique, um, one of a kind photo of a Batman mask. There are actually benefits to owning this, because these rare collectible digital photos, um, they apparently grant you access to like some exclusive Batman and DC stuff or whatever. Um, but you're seeing all kinds of things like this. Now, one thing I can almost guarantee you, most of these NFTs, they're not going to be valuable 10 years from now, 20 years from now. The weird like bored ape photo, no. It's probably not going to be worth, or maybe it will be worth millions. But to the central question of is it a scam? Well, you have to think, what is a scam? You might consider it a scam to pay hundreds of dollars for um a virtual token that doesn't really get you anything. But who knows? Maybe, it'll be popular, or maybe it's just a fad. You know, it's It's kind of like a baseball card, except non-physical. Are baseball cards a scam? You know, you pay like 20 bucks for a pack of cards, but really it's just, well, I actually don't know how much baseball cards cost. I've never actually been into that, but you know, you don't really get anything but a piece of paper, but it's still a one of a kind collectible, and sometimes they can be valuable in the future because they're rare. So, as to the question of if NFTs are a scam, it really depends on do are people happy in the end with their NFTs? Um, and I think it depends on, you know, the circumstances of it. But really, it's too early in this technology to be able to tell. But I also think it could have some nice applications. Some people have just used NFTs for like just ridiculously, you know, dumb stuff. Like you have video games that are like, well, now your video game skin is an NFT. Like, why? You know? And it's all and like Twitter, like I said, you can show off your NFT, you know, as kind of a status symbol. Like I have this, you know, in your profile picture, you know, I have this one of a kind collectible item. So, you know, there are uses for it and that sort of thing. Um, so I don't think it's necessarily a scam, but it's not really what people think either. Like you're not gonna get rich off of your NFTs necessarily. So only time will tell. But yeah. Coming up on another issue, this is somewhat unrelated to technology, although it is a sort of legal dispute amongst lots of online realty companies. But I'd like to posit a question. If you buy a house, do you own it? You know, you might think that you pay, I mean, gosh, how much are houses now? Like hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know, you buy a house, you pay all that money, you might think that you own it. But a recent court decision by, let me check which court that was actually. The Eighth Circuit, or the United States Court of Appeals for the Eighth Circuit, has made a very disturbing decision. Um, and the National Association of Realtors, which is um, filing an amicus brief with the Supreme Court to try to overturn this. Um, but yeah, Forbes has an article on this. House owners can now be sued for sharing a floor plan of their houses. Now you might think, wait, sued by who? If you own your house, surely if you own your house, you at least, at the bare minimum, have the right to describe the layout to somebody, right? Well, you'd be wrong because of, guess what? Copyright. Once again, back to ruin things. So, you might think you own the house, but the copyright to its architectural plans and the copyright to the building is owned by its designer. And while the law protects photos of it, the court has interpreted the law to mean that you don't have a right to share the floor plan, even if you make the floor plan yourself, to your own house. Now, I think it's worth asking, how did we get in this position? So, for basically all of human history, people have lived in some kind of shelter. You know, people have had houses. And these houses have been designed by architects. If you design a house, you are an architect. That's like the dictionary definition. And this hasn't really been a problem until recently. But in the 1970s, um, Congress in the United States, Congress decided for some reason that, you know what architects need? They need copyright protection for their architectural plans. This was decided in the 70s. Now you might wonder, wait, why do they? Haven't architects been doing fine for all of human history, basically? Well, you might say that, but this is Congress. There's no common sense. And then in the 90s, furthermore, it was decided that all buildings themselves can be considered copyrighted works. In fact, any building that was built after 1990 could potentially be copyrighted. And yes, that's as ridiculous as it sounds. So now that this court ruling has been interpreted, the copyright owner of a house can sue the house's owner if they post a floor plan online. And this is pretty common. Like if you're selling your house, you put it on some, you know, real estate sites, um, and you include a floor plan because any prospective buyer wants to know, like, what exactly am I getting if I buy this house? Where are the bedrooms? What's the layout? Can I fit my furniture? What are the dimensions? It is necessary to know the dimensions and layout of a house before you buy it. And it's nice to be able to see that online before you potentially go look at a house. But now you can't do this because of copyright law. Boy, have we come a long way since 1790, back when it was 14 years and only covered books and charts and stuff. Hopefully this gets overturned, but really we need just a general rethinking of what harms all of our copyright policies might do. Anyone who's been on YouTube knows this. You have entire YouTube channels getting nuked because, they used a sample for a split second in their intro. That's happened to people. Speaking on the copyright issue, but another more technical issue, there is a absolutely disastrous copyright bill in the Senate right now. It's called the Smart Copyright Act. The idea of the Smart Copyright Act is to reduce copyright infringement online. Now, that sounds good at the surface, but how exactly does it do this? Well, it's going to require websites to have certain mechanisms to automatically detect copyrighted material. Now, some websites already have this, namely YouTube with Content ID. Content ID took YouTube, it cost them millions of dollars to develop this system to detect copyrighted stuff, and it famously is a terrible system. People have uploaded white noise to YouTube and gotten like 10 to 20 copyright strikes or hits or whatever on, just pure random white noise. It's an absolutely terrible system. Um, I've even had videos, you know, had claims made against it for just completely false statements. People performing classical music, even, which, of course, most classical music predates copyright as a concept and thus is not copyrighted. People playing classical music live have had their live streams taken down because it sounds too much like another person playing that music. It is a absolutely terrible system. So now Congress wants to force this mechanism on other websites. But it gets worse from there. The question for websites is, which mechanism for automatically removing copyrighted content will they use? Will they have to develop their own or buy one from someone else? Well, get this. According to the law, the Librarian of Congress will have the unilateral power to decide at the recommendation of, I forget, a committee from the Copyright Office. The Librarian of Congress will unilaterally get to decide what mechanisms are the acceptable mechanisms that websites have to use. As in, the Librarian of Congress gets unilateral power to decide what technologies people use in their website. Now, I would like to ask this. Do you even know who the Librarian of Congress is? Like, do you actually know who that is? And do you trust them to to run and be in charge of the policies of every server on the internet? I don't. Like, this is a no-name bureaucrat that no one knows who it is, who has no qualifications in technology necessarily. The Librarian of Congress doesn't exactly have to be a server administrator with lots of experience. So, this is a absolutely terrible law that hopefully does not pass. It's actually been introduced, I think, multiple times at this point into Congress, and thankfully, it's died in committee or been rejected, and it hasn't passed before, but there's a danger that they'll try to slip it in with another bill that, like a must pass bill, like, you know, spending or something. If it passes, it could be very bad, especially for new startup companies, because, you know, what if the Librarian of Congress chooses technology that's expensive or, you know, hard to implement or otherwise just a really huge burden? I mean, like, it really is insane how bad this law is. So hopefully it does not pass. Well, that is all the news for today. Thank you for listening to the Jimmy Hoke Show. This is the first episode I've tested it. I am actually live on YouTube, Twitch, my website, Facebook Watch, Telegram. I am live on all of those at the same time. So it's pretty cool. Um, Obviously, this episode will come out on the podcast. So thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, follow, you know, and I will see you in the next episode.